Well, would you look at that? It's nearly the end of the year already. And you know what that means? One last cozy Minecraft time lapse to close off the year. I don't really have anything inspired to say about that, so let's just get into the video. This time lapse is a continuation of last year's castle, which is itself an overhaul of one of my earliest builds on the channel, the Isle of Northwind. Given that a good chunk of my recent videos are organics related, I thought I'd go back to my structural roots and complete the town portion of the island. The original Northwind had a pretty heavy Nordic influence, and I wanted to try and capture that in the new town. I start this build off by rebuilding the town's church. Like the original one, this was inspired by some of those wooden stave churches, but with my own spin on it. This church took me a while to finish, especially given that it's on a diagonal, but it helped me get an idea for how I wanted the rest of the town to look. Now it's time to make the townhouses. The first one will give me a sense of what kind of shared design motifs I want for the rest of them. In this case, that would be things like the spruce wood block palette and the layered angular tiled roofs. I settled for 10 different designs to give a little variety without having me lose my mind trying to come up with new designs. I feel pretty good about the house designs I've made. I feel like each one has a bit of its own character while also feeling cohesive to the larger theme. After finishing up the house designs, I start to paste a few of them around the platforms. Now I make 4 different snowy blossom trees to replace the old snow trees scattered throughout the island. The idea was to use lots of shaping blocks as the old one didn't use any. I initially used cherry petal leaves, but thought they were a bit too pink, so I opted for pale oak leaves with a few pink petals on top to give a bit of color to the otherwise gray trees. Here I extend the dock and make it diagonal like the church and the castle. The next thing I work on is rebuilding the lighthouse. Like the other things I'm rebuilding, I wanted the new version to be much grander and more detailed than the old version, while maybe retaining a bit of the flavor. I use endstone here to tie the lighthouse to the castle a bit. I also build some haphazard scaffolding attached to the tower. I then borrow one of the castle roofs to house the signal light. I realized at this point that the island doesn't have a lot of flat surfaces to place houses on aside from the terraced platforms by the castle, so I terraformed the island a bit here and there, adding more beaches and islets to place the houses on. Now it's time for the next upgrade, the storeroom. For this upgrade I will move the storeroom deeper underground to better protect against the cold winters. I'll also make it quite a bit larger to store more goods. Here I experiment with making some sulfur pools. I'll end up liking these enough to integrate more of them into the island later on. Almost gives the island an Icelandic kind of vibe. Here I make this mountain pass with a tunnel area dipping into the mountain itself. Now it's time to upgrade the boats. To my pleasant surprise, I actually didn't have to change them that much as they were already pretty close to how I wanted them. I also built a third smaller boat as well. Lastly, I finish up some changes to the terrain of the island. I thought it would make sense to have this island be somewhat volcanic, but instead of spewing lava and magma, it would mainly be comprised of those sulfur pools from earlier. I dig out this massive caldera at the top of the volcano and color it with the same sulfuric gradient I used on the smaller pools. I then make more sulfur pools cascading down the side of the volcano into the first lake layer. Now I texture the whole thing in a sulfur yellow gradient with easy edits. About now I make some basalt cliffs off the other side of the volcano, but unfortunately I forgot to record that part. Sorry. And after adding a few market stalls to the dock, this build is complete, at least for now. Thanks again for making it through the video. As usual, this build is not available for download yet, but stay tuned as I might have some ideas as to when I will release my builds. Until next time, have a good one.